Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on bogradio.fm. We've got a very special guest on our show today. This gentleman right here is a director, podcaster, and also creator, filmmaker without question, and an advocate with or for Down's syndrome individuals. He's working on a film right now which centers on the very subject called Was It Always Like This? Please welcome to the show the very talented Jeff Peterson. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, thank you so much. It's a real honor. And I believe from what I see, I double checked, we are streaming on my platform and all of your platforms as well. So hi to all my friends and family and all of yours. This is a new thing for you. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Hi to all of Jeff Peterson's friends. Hey, everybody. Good to meet you guys. Jeff, thanks for being on the show. We were talking before we came on live about a common friend of ours who is the star of the film that you're working on, circling around Down syndrome, Sharon Lanier. A tremendous actress. You can see her in Miracle on Highway 34. I highly recommend that. She's also been in a number of other films, but great actor, and she's going to be the star of this film. Again, it centers around Down syndrome, and the subject matter is one that, well, we don't discuss a whole lot. We know that it's there. We know that it's in our society, but we don't talk about it a whole lot. I don't think we do. What drew your attention to the subject, Jeff?
Well, I mean, I know it's kind of cliche to say, but God really drew my attention to it. Honestly, I was doing shows like you do, and I had a message from one of the guests I had on once, and wanted to let me know of what these other guys, these filmmakers, were doing a film on, and their lead actor had Down syndrome. And I didn't know much of anything about filmmaking at the time, but I also knew nothing about Down syndrome, and that really got me. I'm like, this is really interesting. So I learned all about Down syndrome. I learned, I helped them out with pushing their fundraising for their movie and as well. And it just got me really wondering all about Down syndrome. Why did they choose somebody with Down syndrome? What is so wonderful about that? And then I realized God really opened my eyes to it, that these wonderful people, the only difference between them and us is just one chromosome. But the thing that really hit me the most, like a ton of bricks, is finding out that over 75% of an average are terminated before they're even born.
Wow.
Doctors push termination when there's any markers of Down syndrome. And a lot of times I've heard even 40 to 50% of those diagnoses are wrong.
Wow.
There's somebody I work with that doesn't have Down syndrome, but her mom was told to terminate because they thought she had Down syndrome. 40, 50% of those are wrong. So we have, even to this day, I had a message I seen one of my friends post about a doctor had trolled her on her Facebook page, why she kept her Down syndrome kid, why she kept her kid with Down syndrome. A doctor was trolling her on her page.
Wow. Wow.
Can't believe it's crazy. And because people may think, well, that's back in the day. No, it's current. People don't know. They think they're too much of a burden, and they're really not. They're the most wonderful people ever. And, that's kind of how I got started. I learned everything I could about Down syndrome. That's kind of how I basically got started and just had my eyes opened enormously.
I didn't even know that doctors recommended termination of a pregnancy because the child has or is going to have Down syndrome. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the most heinous crime that you could commit, to terminate a pregnancy, to in effect murder a child, because that's what it is, because they have a certain type of illness. It's not fatal. They can live a full productive life. And look, I get it. I know that people are oh my goodness, this is going to be hard to do. I understand that. Okay.
Yeah.
But terminate the life? I did not know that people actually did that. I did not know that doctors recommended or pushed for a woman to terminate a pregnancy just because a child has Down syndrome. Yeah, I know it's going to
Yeah.
be an issue. It's going to be an uphill battle and all those different things. But again, I did not know that. We
Yeah.
talked about the short film that you created called "Wasn't Always Like This" that stars Sharon Lanier. I want to show our audience
Well, the More Than a Diagnosis, by the way, is the first short film.
the first short film. So
Yeah.
I want to give our audience a sneak peek of your project, More Than a Diagnosis, which refers and relates to the issue of Down syndrome. So, ladies and gentlemen, just stand by for that. You're going to enjoy this little 3-minute short.
I regret to inform you, but there's a 90% chance your baby will have trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. I'm sorry, very sorry. I've already taken the liberty of making you an appointment with the other clinic in town so it can be taken care of. You don't have to worry.
What? Is everything okay?
Yes, everything is fine.
With the baby, I mean?
Absolutely. Now, you do need to know that there's a 90% chance your baby will have trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. I know this may feel scary. You might have a lot of questions, but I also want you to know that there's an amazing community out there. They're eager to shower you with advice, love, and congratulations.
But I don't know what that...
Listen, don't worry. Here are some brochures, a book. You'll have plenty of time to learn what you need to know. For now, let's just be thankful for this little blessing.
How do you know it's a blessing?
I'd like to introduce you to someone. I'd like you to meet Jay. Come on out here, Jay. Jay is one of our volunteers here.
You want a hug?
Beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
stuff there,
Thank you.
Jeff. God bless you for bringing a subject such as this to light and allowing everyone to focus on it. God bless you, brother.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the first scene is the most typical scene that's more so than the second scene. It's been out for about a year. I've won a few awards on it. When we first released it, I got tons of messages from people that I had no idea, and they're like, "How did you know that's exactly what the doctor said, word for word?" And I didn't know. I didn't know that was exactly it. I had seen a lot of testimonial videos, but I'd never seen anything that actually depicted it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's just a wonderful, job on your part to address this subject. What are the plans now of the release of the film, extending it to a full feature length?
Well, that one is basically kind of on its own. That's how I got the idea for this next one. Basically, I hadn't even thought about doing anything else, honestly. I just
Yeah.
love this so much. I was like, well, then I don't know what it was that hit me. Obviously, God, said, hey, there can be more to this story. And I thought, well, I would get messages about this, and the whole Down syndrome community absolutely loved it. But I always thought to myself, well, it's not really going to change a doctor's mind by watching this here. They're not going to necessarily have an epiphany and stop pushing terminations. Well, I thought, what would happen? What would cause a doctor to stop? What in their life would actually cause them to stop and realize what they're doing? So that's where I come up with a new story, kind of a backstory of the doctor that Sharon played. Like, maybe there's a backstory. Maybe something happens to her so tragic and so crazy that she changes her mind about the whole community of people with Down syndrome. Where in the beginning, she is like that first scene, thinks they're a burden, but in the end, she loves them. So that's I developed a whole story around that. And I got to writing it last spring. And I told Sharon about it. She was just super excited. And it's basically, I formatted it just as a short film. It's about, the script is maybe 25, 30 some pages. So it's, and I thought I was kind of going back and forth on a title, but I thought, myself, I wasn't always like this. And this doctor wasn't always like this. So I thought, why not use that as a title? So, because I've had a lot of things in my life play out to where, not tragedy or nothing crazy, but where, should I be doing this? And we always get all these doubts about doing things in our lives. But then all of a sudden there would be somebody, with Down syndrome here or there. I would just, hey, Jeff, I'd be at work. I work in a supermarket, and I would see people with Down syndrome. I would just notice them more. And we didn't know each other, but I got to know so many people with Down syndrome. I like have the bestest friends, and they have Down syndrome. They just have an extra chromosome. And I just love them so much. I love the community so much that I wanted to do something that also showed everyone that there's hope and hope for change in people like this doctor. And not just this doctor, but anybody. Anybody can open their eyes and realize these people are pretty cool, So all in all, that to say is basically I developed a new storyline where this doctor has a sister. I'll tell you briefly about the storyline. The doctor, Susan Crenshaw, has a sister named Shireen, and she's pregnant. But as a lot of times siblings are, they're very different. Now, Shireen has an unplanned pregnancy, and she'll be played by Rose Hunt Person. She has an unplanned pregnancy, but she doesn't want to do testing. She wants to do things her way. But then one day she goes into labor. And of course, her sister gets to the hospital not to deliver the baby, but to find that the baby's already been delivered. And, her and Shireen have some words. Shireen makes her make a promise, and kind of goes from there. So it's all along the way, she happens to encounter somebody with Down syndrome. But as stubborn as her character kind of is, she's kind of like, as I wrote this out, I was telling Sharon about it, and she's such a wonderful actress, and she's going to help me produce this as well. We've talked it out and talked about what her character's really like, because in this short 3-minute film, you just get a glimpse of what this doctor's like. But we went into big detail of what this doctor's like. She has a sister. She has a husband. She has her own practice. She's very a certain way, but she has a sister, and this sister is also pregnant too. So that's kind of the storyline. But in the end, it's kind of a redemption story as well. So she changes her mind about the whole community in the end through a lot of that. It's kind of I guess you'd call it a faith-based drama is what you could call it.
Yes. Well, folks, if you want to know more about this film, you can go to morethanafilm.com. And even if you want to donate, you have the option at this site, morethanafilm.com. Jeff Peterson on the Maurice Brown Show, talking about Down syndrome and the film that he has produced. This subject is one, like I said, that a lot of people don't talk about very much. How serious, Jeff, is the issue of unborn children being diagnosed with Down syndrome and not being wanted?
It's pretty it's pretty heavy out there. I know 1 out of roughly 700 births have Down syndrome. Down syndrome is the most common disability out there. It's doctors, all the majority of doctors, and there's quite a few good ones, and I've met good ones that are totally, give the support and everything needed, but it seemed like the majority don't want that woman in their mind to be burdened. So they push testing and they push and push. And, it's only 1 out of 700. If you figure 75%, if you're a good mathematician, that's quite a few that are terminated. And that's an average, across the United States. Some countries are higher than that,
Wow.
Yeah. I believe Iceland brags about curing Down syndrome by eradicating it, by not letting anybody be born with Down syndrome in Iceland. That's staggering, absolutely staggering. And anybody can look it up. It's easily documented out there. It's crazy, just crazy to think, but yeah, on an average in the United States, it's around 75% in the percentile. But yeah, that's pretty heavy.
I thought that mankind had matured beyond such a primitive mindset, because this is what they did in primitive times. If a child was born with an issue, they just throw them away, literally throw them away. And what you said about Iceland is very, very similar to that. And the fact that people just say they, terminate the child. I mean, it may as well be the same thing as throwing a child on a heap of dead bodies. And that's it's so sick. It is. And I really thought our society had gotten past that. We haven't gone anywhere, Jeff.
Yeah.
So you look at that, and you're always seeking funding.
Yeah.
For the film. Tell us how viewers can actually contribute to a film such as yours, which seeks to address this needed subject of Down syndrome.
Yeah, it's super easy. Right on the website, morethanafilm.com, you can watch that first More Than a Diagnosis short film on my website. You can donate any amount from the website. There's a donate button, and we also have a teaser trailer that Sharon and I filmed this past fall. Gives you a glimpse about what this new film is going to be kind of like. And but yeah, it's right through the website, morethanafilm.com. Any little bit helps, whether it's $5, $10, $20, $30. I had one person donate $1,000. It all helps, because as you know, Maurice, films aren't cheap to do, at least good, really well. And I believe people with Down syndrome and their community, they deserve that. They deserve it to be in that light, and it'll bring attention when it's done really well. It'll bring some good attention to the subject matter in itself.
No, I know how difficult it is. As a matter of fact, I just shot a film over the summer in Orlando, Florida, with a good friend of mine, Kareem Everson, and it's called Unknown Kingdom. And hopefully that will be released at it's a short film, but it talks about spiritual warfare. But we did that thing, Jeff. We did not spend a lot of money. You get someone with expertise that knows what they're doing. And most importantly, it's authored by Jesus Christ, and you can do anything. But no, it is not easy to put these films together. Michael Patterson, who's a friend of mine, is also in this film. Michael and I had a chance to do Love Different together in 2016. And Michael recently won the Best Supporting Actor Award for Undefiled.
Yes.
which is a film that deals with pornography, and it's so well done, tastefully done,
Yeah.
if you can imagine that. But it is.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, Mike, a bit about Michael Patterson's role
Yeah.
in your film.
Well, like in that movie Undefiled, incredible movie. You know, him and Sharon are in that movie together. They're in a few movies together, and totally the chemistry they both have on screen is incredible. They just are the best of the best in my mind. And when I wrote the script, of course, Sharon was fully on board, and she's like, she asked, I think she asked me, or somebody said, the husband's name's Michael. Why do you have? What made you choose that name? I said, well, I have an actor in mind, and I said I like the name and it fits. And I said maybe I'll never get him to play in this film. Maybe not. Maybe I will. But I said if I don't, if it never works, I at least got his name in there. Not really, but and I just finally connected with him, and it was kind of strange because I've seen a lot of his work, and he's just incredible. And then one day I seen one of his reels that was just made. It wasn't from any movie. It was just made as a reel. And it really hit me. I'm like, oh wait, and I sent him a message. We need to talk, kind of thing. That reel I can't remember exactly what it was, but I loved it. It really hit me, and I'm like, we got to talk. So we connected. I talked to him. I told him about this, and I told him about the new story and the new film. And he's like, dude, sign me up. Where do I sign?
I love it. I love it.
So yeah.
Michael is a true professional. I mean, the guy is really all in about doing films that bring out the gospel of Christ in whatever way that may be. He's just a consummate pro. Like I said, I did Love Different with him in 2016, directed by Anthony Hackett, and we've been great friends ever since. That's it's saying a lot since we did it in 2016. Michael and I are still very good friends. And now you have introduced a new actor here. I'm not familiar with, but I'm anxious to see her in your film, Rose Hunt Person. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, that was, I leaned on Sharon a lot, and I said, Sharon, I don't know who I can. This was before I even thought of, had told her about Michael. I said, who can I get to play your sister? I said, do you know anybody? I said, I guess I can find somebody. I'm not the type to do like auditions and stuff. I don't see it at this point, of the game, but I'm like, if I find someone I want them, I'll go after and talk to them and say, can you be in my film? And I'm like, she's like, no, wait, I know somebody personally. I know somebody that's a great actress. Let me talk to her, and then we'll go from there. And they've always wanted to be in a film together, and they never have been. So we got connected with her, and she's like, yeah, absolutely. So, and I've got pictures of them, and you wouldn't know if I told you they weren't sisters, you wouldn't know that they weren't. But they think of each other as sisters, and there's slight resemblance and everything. They just think the world of each other. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So we got the husband, the sister, and the doctor. So
okay,
yeah, it kind of just worked out that way.
Yes.
Wonderful actress too.
Awesome. Can't wait to see this film when it's done. And also, as we talk about Down syndrome, there are a couple of actors in this film, young actors in this film that have Down syndrome. Annabelle, Marley Joe, and Zek Cochran. Tell us a little bit about these guys.
Yes. Zeke Cochran, he's actually comes into where I work a lot, him and his mom. And so I've gotten to know him a little bit, him and his mom. And Anne Marie and Annabelle. Annabelle is the one with the glasses. And I've gotten to know them too. How was it? It was they're through an organization here in Middle Tennessee called Down Syndrome of Middle Tennessee. And because I went to one of their events and just kind of got to know a lot of people, there. So I got to know them, I guess, through friends of friends. And then the cutest one, they're all cute and wonderful, but I should say the youngest one, Marley Joe.
Yes.
That's a total God thing right there. I got to tell you. When I first got done with More Than a Diagnosis, I went down to Orlando and at the Down syndrome convention where there's thousands of people. And, I got to spread and talk about my movie, got to go all these booths and everything. And then I came back and I needed to get my eyeglasses adjusted. I need to get a new prescription. So I've been going to a guy for like over 20 years. And there's a lady there that, still works there after all this time. And we made just small chit chat, as most typical people do. And, and she's like, what have you been doing? I said, what have you been doing? I said, well, I just got back from Florida. And she's like, well, that's cool. I said, well, I was at a convention for people with Down syndrome. And her eyes nearly come out of her head. She's like, say what? And I thought I said something wrong. I'm like, oh, yeah. She's like, sit down. We need to talk. She's like,
Okay.
I have a 4-month-old with Down syndrome. I said, I didn't even know you had kids. Of course, I don't know you that well. So we talked for another 30 minutes after I paid for my glasses and everything. I had no idea. She just recently had a baby with Down syndrome.
Okay.
So we're going through pictures, just talking and just on and on and on. And she's just the sweetest thing. Her name's Marley Jo. And
Yes.
She's the absolute sweetest thing. And Sharon got to meet her and got to spend a little time with her. She's absolutely adorable. And as the time went on and months went on and stuff, and I came up with this new film idea. Her mom's name is Jessica. And I said, Jessica, you want to have Marley in a little short film, a little movie? She's like, well, yeah, sure. I said,
Right.
okay, yeah, I said, and I told her the story and she's like, oh my goodness. Yes. So yeah, we got her as the youngest, basically.
Now, has Zeke Cochran been in some films he looks familiar. He looks like
No.
someone I've seen in a major film before, but he's got a great look. It looks like he's going to be a really good actor. That's for sure.
He did his pose for me. I said, do your pose. So I took a picture of him. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And some of the other members of the film I'd like to talk about a little bit. Tanya Joy Gibson and Adam Cutshaw.
Yes. Well, Tanya will be, she'll be as one of the medical professionals. It'll be either a nurse or an assistant to the doctor or one of the nurses in that role. And Adam, she's an actress as well. She does singing, she does shows, she does all kinds of stuff. And she recently moved to the area. I've been friends with her for a few years. Adam, I've known him for a long time, and he is going to play the preacher, which is basically himself. He's playing himself. So
Yeah.
he's a great guy. I've known him for a long time. He's actually my barber as well. But he's also a preacher and evangelist. And he's, I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think about this idea? And you've got a great church. What do you think about all this? He's like, man, I'd be honored to. So I'm like, okay. I said, you don't have to worry about, I said, memorizing and doing all this. Don't have any of those kind of worries. I said, because you have sermon notes all the time. You give sermons. All you're going to be doing is giving a sermon. I said, even if you glance at your notes, I said, it's not going to be, oh, you missed a few words on that line or whatever. It's going to be, because I don't want them to be nervous or nothing,
Yeah.
And I totally believe he'll do a great job as a pastor of this church. So that's going to be in the movie.
And a couple of more members of your film,
Yes.
Elizabeth Jackson and Lily Jackson. Looks like they are a singing duo, and Mary Jackson, I'm assuming, is their mother.
Yes, it is. They'll all probably be, nothing's hardcore yet, but they'll all either be extras as nurses, or I believe Mary and I talked about, she'll probably be either like a front desk person. But they also have supplied the song Amazing Grace. They did their own cover version of it, which you can hear in our teaser trailer that we made. So wonderful people. I've gotten them know from, people from people, and they're from the area. Pretty much everybody is from this Middle Tennessee area, except for the first three, Michael, Sharon, and Rose. But the rest are all from Middle Tennessee.
I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching and listening to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on bogradio.fm, as well as many other streaming platforms, talking with director Jeffrey Peterson, who has produced a film called Wasn't Always Like This, which focuses on Down syndrome, an issue in America and around the world. Many people don't want to face this. But, it takes the power of Christ, Jeff.
Yeah.
It takes the Holy Spirit to be able to address tough situations with delicacy and genuine concern. And God bless you for doing that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those subjects. It's, I never ever thought I would be doing anything within a disability community, Down syndrome community. Never really thought about it. I knew that it was there, but I didn't really, think of that much about it, which is a lot of people, until it either affects you or it's brought to you or God opens your eyes to it. It's really, most people don't think about it too much. Even the pro-life community, it's not talked about much, but it's a big subject matter if you're pro-life, because of the termination rate is crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I mean, of course, when you see a film with someone that has Down syndrome, a child, usually you don't see a lot of adults with Down syndrome, which leads me to the question: what is the life expectancy of someone with Down syndrome?
Well, it used to be. It's gotten a lot better because of our technology and stuff, and our just different things. I know it used to be around 30s, 40s, 50s. Now it's going up higher in 50s, 60s as well. A good portion of them can get dementia, but it's and a lot of them have heart issues. That's one thing a lot of people say in defense is that, well, they have so many medical issues, they have so many issues overall, but we all can have medical issues. We all can be born with medical issues. We all can, things happen to everybody. They may have a little greater statistic on them, but it's just one of those things where, you can't just cross out people just because they might have a medical issue. They might, might have a lot of medical issues. There's some that have nothing. They're healthier than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, there's a lot of myths, a lot of different things that have gone over through the decades. And every person I've met, and I've met tons of people with Down syndrome and hundreds of their moms and dads and relatives, I've never met one said, "Oh, I regret it." Never, not one.
Well, I can believe that. I can honestly believe that. And Kay Cordell says, "Great job in sharing the joy of Down syndrome." I like that, Kay.
Yeah.
I love that. And as you look at one of the members of this project, and Marley Joy, she's nothing but pure joy.
Oh, she totally is. Yeah.
I want to understand how someone can think that this person, someone like this person, like Annabelle and Zeke Cochran, don't deserve to live. I mean, what kind of I just don't understand it, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's beyond me. It's beyond my understanding.
What I've found, there's a lot of common denominators, but there's a lot of things that, people be like, well, they can have these meltdowns. They're not always happy and not always this. I said, well, I can have meltdowns too. We all can have a meltdown over something in our lives. But when I've seen people with Down syndrome have a meltdown, but they bounce back like way quicker than I ever did over something. Way quicker. I mean, all of a sudden, boom, they're just like fresh again. And I'm like, and it's not every time. There's always exceptions, but it's like, I wish I could bounce back after some things like that. I mean, it's just, there's Annabelle and her mom, and Maurice said,
hey, Annabelle, Marie.
Yes. Yeah. They're definitely a special bunch of people, and especially Anna and Marie.
I like what you said about we can all have meltdowns. All I have to do is get in my car and hit the interstate, and I'll run meltdown after meltdown. So we can all. It's called road rage, Jeff. Anyway, I mean, we all have that, so that's no excuse.
Yeah.
To think that a young, beautiful child like that doesn't deserve to live. It's evil. It's nothing but pure evil, is what it is. It's
Yeah.
demonic. And
Yeah.
thank God for the saving grace of Jesus Christ and bringing His Spirit into the world. I love Him so much. I just thank Christ that He came and saved us all. What has been the toughest challenge, Jeff, in putting a film like this together?
Well, I guess being kind of new to the industry in itself and educating myself, but not just that. One thing someone told me once, a lot of people tell you the script is the backbone of any movie. It's the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, this is basically will be my second script. I wrote this first one with some help more than a diagnosis. I had an idea and I kind of wrote it out, and they gave me some help to put it in a script format. But learning that kind of stuff it's not easy. But if you have the story start to finish in your head, it's just a matter of putting it on paper and putting it on there. So, so it makes sense. So it has a good flow, I mean, there's challenges all over the place, honestly. Sometimes some people struggle with challenges of getting people excited. The biggest challenge, I guess, is the most common challenge for anyone in the industry, I believe, especially independent, is raising money.
Yes.
You can go out and make films, you can go out and write scripts, and they'd be okay. But getting enough funding to make it look right, to make it show the way you want it to show, to give good representation, especially when it's a wonderful group of people that have Down syndrome, and you want to show them in their best light, and want to tell a story that represents them best. So you don't want it to look any cheesy.
No, you don't want that. And it's all
nobody
about,
wants that, but
it's all about getting someone to support your film financially. And I did a film in Orlando, Florida called Unknown Kingdom with Kareem Everson, and we were able to put it together and submit it to ICFF, International Christian Film and Music Festival, that's coming up in May, and it's just a challenge. And you need funding if you want it to look the way you want it to look. But it all starts, Jeff, with a great idea.
That's right.
It all starts with good people, and certainly the power of Christ behind you. And it's certain to take off. And I think you will get investors interested, because you're dealing with a subject, again, that most people don't want to talk about, even pretend that it's not there.
Right.
Or when you see it, you just try to immediately put it out of your mind and say, I'm glad I'm not dealing with that. And thank God you did not take that approach, because more attention needs to be put on this subject.
Well, like I've told some of these wonderful people that are already on board. I'm a very persistent. If it takes me a year, another two, I'm going to make sure we get it done one way or another. If I fund it all myself, or if I get some people on board, we're going to do this, because I believe it's so important to show. And I think if it's shown right, people will be open up to it, because people love drama, right? People love drama. And if you weave in a good story that has enough drama and redemption in it, you can highlight a wonderful community of people that with Down syndrome, and they won't even know it. And they'll realize, oh my, what's been going on? Like this doctor character realized in the end what she had been doing all this time, and she changed her ways. But it takes a lot for any person, especially a doctor that's been pushing terminations, to get them to change their mind. They ain't going to do it on social media because someone said so. They're not going to do it because a patient got mad at them. They're going to do it because something happened in their life that caused them to pause and realize, oh, wait a minute,
Well, yes, absolutely. And I think that, again, when you say what you said about, and I saw this in oh, by the way, Anne-Marie Clark says, Jeff, you have a great script, a great heart, and God, you've got this. So thankful to have you as an advocate for the DS community. God bless you, Annie. and Marie Clark, and I concur and echo everything that you just said about Jeff. I just thank God that he's decided to bring this issue to the fore, because, like I said, a lot of people try to dismiss it or just forget that they saw what they saw, and doctors pressing for termination. Again, I did not know that doctors recommended that.
Yeah.
That's unreal to me.
And
It's
some,
unreal.
I've heard so many testimonies. Some of them you just wouldn't even believe. Some of the crazy testimonies I've heard, I couldn't even make them up. You'd think I was fibbing. People saying that they were just called and told that, just horrific things. How dare they try to have a kid like this, or how dare they? Because we're supposed to look up to our doctors, but some of these doctors will give them it's not just doctors, it's the whole scope, whether it's a nurse, a genetic counselor, an OBGYN, all of them. If they have that mindset that someone with Down syndrome is a problem or a burden, they will do everything they can in their power. So you don't need this. Here, take your prescription and call me later. You'll thank me later. That they just makes you wonder, like, what is wrong with some of these medical professionals out here? Do they? And I've even heard from a medical professional that they're not even taking the oaths anymore in some areas. It's very lax in some areas, in some residencies and places. They don't even do the oath. Don't quote me on that, but that's some areas. It just makes you really wonder.
Well, when you don't take an oath, that means you don't have to be committed to anything, which unfortunately is a reflection of our society and where it's sort of leaning nowadays.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, let me ask you this: as a creator, as a director, what is the biggest? And I love asking this question to all members of the entertainment community, whether they're actors or producers or script writers, what have you. What's the biggest thing that you've learned, Jeff, as a director and creator in bringing this film to a reality? What's the biggest thing you've learned?
Gosh, that is a really good question, man. Because it seems like I've learned so much.
Okay.
I feel like I'm a sponge. I'm trying to learn as much as I can that I can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning about cameras and specs. I'm learning about lighting. So even if I don't buy all that equipment myself, I'll have a clue of what the crew I've hired, what they're doing, and learning about how to work with actors and how to work with even people with Down syndrome. Okay, I need you to go from here to here. People with Down syndrome, it's a little bit different because they're not seasoned actors necessarily. Some people are, and a lot of them will take really great direction. And I'm still learning a lot of this myself. And I think it's, for me, I just love the learning process of it all. I just love that process. I guess you could say that's it. Working with Sharon on this teaser trailer, it really blew my mind away. I even got emotional when she had her emotional scene. And I hope you'll play that teaser here in a second. It just blew me away. And after she did her scenes and we did all this stuff, I learned from her as much. And I'm like, I need a hug, Sharon, because she's just so professional. She blew me away. But I told her initially, okay, here's what how I want this to look. And then she just pulled it off. And it's just learning so much. I love to learn that stuff. I think it's just fascinating to me. I've always been fascinated my entire life with behind the scenes stuff. I wanted to know how they made Superman fly. I wanted to know how they did different things, how they got this stuff out of the actors, how they did that stuff. So it's always been fascinating to me. So just learning it.
I don't know if I have the teaser you're referring to,
mm-hmm.
but I do have something that does promote the film. By the way, we're talking with Jeff Peterson, director and producer of Wasn't Always Like This, and also More Than a Diagnosis. If you want to contribute funding to his film, just go to morethanafilm.com. If you want to see more information about it, you can also go to that website. Here's a little teaser.
I can show it too on my end if you want me to show the teaser trailer.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Give me just a second, everybody. Hang with us here.
Hang with us, everybody. You're watching and listening to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on bogradio.fm and many other streaming platforms like YouTube and Twitter, which is now X, and Instagram Live. Talking with Jeff Peterson. We're going to see a teaser from his film here.
Are you seeing? Let's see.
There we go.
I'm sorry, your baby has a 1 in 4 chance of having trisomy 21. You really need to consider your options. You don't need to be burdened by this. I wasn't always like this, you know. But something happened. Wait, what do you mean you're sorry? No.
Promise me something. Promise me. Seriously. I mean, like if something happens to me.
Don't tell me that. Don't. That promise I made you.
No.
You see, I lost someone close to me. Yet I received something I never knew I needed.
Beautiful, Jeff. Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, that Sharon was. I can't brag enough about her with doing that and coming up here and doing that, and Anne Marie and her little girl Annabelle, as you've seen in there as well. You know, it was so much fun, and they just made it so real. And the music you heard as well, that's from the sisters Jay, Elizabeth and Lily singing. It tied in and made it really well. And that's just a glimpse of what the movie will look like. Give you an idea, as it's a teaser. So,
and by the way, you can see Sharon Lanier in Discarded Things, as well as Miracle on Highway 34. She did a comedy with Michael Peterson called Imposter Pastor,
I love
which
that
you should check out. She's an excellent actress, and she's the star of this film that Jeff Peterson has produced, called Wasn't Always Like This. Jeff, before we get out of here, I have to ask you this. What kind of advice can you leave with young filmmakers out there and directors, script writers, and so forth that want to get into the industry? What advice can you leave with them?
Well, the advice that that people always tell me is, if you want something bad enough, keep at it. Persistence, keep on that persistence, and keep going, and just keep going, keep pushing, because even though this looks like it's just all my first stuff I've not done film work, but I've wrote this new script out. I couldn't tell you how many times I've wrote it out and revisioned and redid it and cut scenes and gone over it with Sharon and a few others, and just to make sure it's the best it can be. But never stop if you have a dream, even if it's, to do something, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera, keep in prayer and keep persisting on doing that, because it's so easy to give up. And we all have those moments and times. We're like, oh, this is exhausting. Why am I doing this? But you can't give up on it. Otherwise, and that's how a lot of them fail. From what I've heard, I've been told that all the time. The biggest thing is, just keep on pushing on whatever in the entertainment business, whether if you're singing or you're acting or you're producing, just keep persisting on it, keep pushing on it.
We get a lot of no's in this industry, a lot of rejection in acting and producing, script writing, and all those different. It's a lot of it. You have to keep pushing. And the ones that make it are the ones that kept pushing. There are people that are sitting at home with more talent, but they quit pushing.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. Great advice for young people, Jeff. Great advice for young people. And as I say all of that, and I think we have a
A
comment
couple more
here
comments.
by Emily called Sharp. Michael J. Patterson is the GOAT. He's a bad dude. He's a bad man, Emily. There's no question about that. Michael is a heck of an actor. And I think Michael and Sharon both are about to break out into like another
Yeah.
level. They both are about to really break out. You're blessed to have them as a part of your film. How
Oh,
can
absolutely.
fans, Jeff, follow you on social media or by website?
Well, definitely the website's first and foremost, morethanafilm.com. Um, um, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all those. I even have I think it's J Peterson Productions. You can type J Peterson Productions in Facebook. I have a film page. You can follow me on my personal page. I have everything public. I share stuff on both, all my social media stuff. You can, watch the teaser, watch the short film on my website, on my social pages. Jeffrey Peterson, J Peterson Productions, any of them. So.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Jeffrey Peterson on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show on bogradio.fm talking about his film Wasn't Always Like This, which stars Sharon Lanier, Michael J. Patterson, and Hunt Person from The Sound of Hope. Michael Patterson, you can see it. He did an episode of Law and Order. He's done The Forge. He's done Love Different. And Sharon has also done Unsung Hero and The Forge as well, which actually that film can be seen on Netflix.
Yes.
And that is encouraging for faith-based filmmakers now, because if we keep getting back to your point and advice and message you left with young people, you got to keep pushing. And the Kendrick brothers have been pushing for a long time, and now they're on a platform where the secular world can hear the message of Christ. It's right in their face.
Yeah.
there it sits, The Forge on Netflix, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's totally awesome.
Definitely shout out to the Kendrick brothers, because that's they put out the movie Life Mark, and Sharon was in that. Just in a brief few seconds, she was in that movie, and I'll never forget when I asked, I said, "Who is that?" And then they told me that's Sharon Lanier. I'm like, that's because she had an interesting line in that film that was integral to the whole story.
Yeah.
If she hadn't said that line, "Your baby has 10 fingers and 10 toes," which was actually said to the mama walking into that abortion clinic, that was one of the most integral parts. And she had that very famous line, at least famous for that movie.
Yes.
Which was based on a true story by my friend Melissa. And, that's how it all kind of connected with me. And I never, I was just like, wow. And I, happened to look at all the stuff that she's been doing and still doing. Just the other day, I seen a commercial with her on.
I saw a national commercial with Sharon Lanier the other day, and I think it was I was watching one of the college football playoff games, and there she is in a commercial. So she's about to break out. Like I said, she is. Michael J. Patterson, they're both about to break out, and you're blessed to have them as a part of your film. You're blessed to have them. And so once again, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the.
Look,
go ahead.
Speak of him. There he is. Hey,
there's my main man, Mike, right there.
All right,
Michael. Mike, you're on your way, brother. We're just giving you a serious shout out, man, and just congratulating Jeff that he was blessed to have you as a part of his film, as well as a sister, Sharon Lanier. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Jeffrey Peterson, director and creator on the Maurice Brown Comedy Show, talking about his film Wasn't Always Like This. We'll try to keep you abreast of how the film is going, when the full feature length is going to be released. And let's keep Jeff in prayer that he succeed with that. If you've enjoyed this interview, like it and share it, and subscribe to the Maurice Brown Comedy Channel on YouTube. You can see and hear, more specifically, you can hear, if you missed this interview with Jeffrey Peterson on bogradio.fm. Also, you can see and hear this interview on kchftv.org, tv11.org out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, every Sunday night at 8 p.m., the Maurice Brown Comedy Show can be seen, and every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on bogradio.fm, you can hear the Maurice Brown Comedy Show as I talk with many producers and directors and screenwriters in the faith-based world, as well as comedians, which is my main thing. Thank God I was able to step out a little bit as a director like my main man, Jeff, here, and produce the film Unknown Kingdom. And that should be released later on this year. And it talks about spiritual warfare. I did that with my co-director, Kareem Everson from Orlando, Florida. So that's going to wrap things up. I appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with us and talking about a subject many people don't talk about very often, which is Down's syndrome. Thank God for Jeff Peterson that not only is he willing to talk about it, he's willing to produce a film about it. Because it needs to be talked about. They're people too, and they deserve to live. Jeff Peterson, thank you so much for being on the show. And may the peace.
It was an honor. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.